Hello everyone, welcome to Beaver Politics. Tonight we're going to be doing News Hour, where we're going to be talking about the important news from Canada, from around the world. I'm going to talk just openly with the commenters for a good hour about what's been going on, and then we are going to open it up for an open panel for another hour after that. Unfortunately, because the Liberal debate is going on right now, I am not going to be talking about it, because until I actually watch it myself and I know everything that happened, I'm not going to comment on any of that. Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to be watching the debates tonight. All right. Well, we're going to get going. Just wanted to say, just so you guys know, this week we are going to be doing a 24-hour live marathon starting Wednesday, going all the way to Thursday, and we're going to be covering the Ontario election. So if you guys are interested, we're going to be on for 24 hours straight. All the Beavers are going to take these, 3-hour windows, and then we're going to close it up on Thursday night while we live stream the actual votes coming in. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. Let's start the show. I'm going to start off, actually, instead of talking about Canada first, I'm going to talk about the news from everything that's been going on with Ukraine, because there's a lot going on there. I know a lot of people in Canada are interested to understand what's happening in our efforts to support Ukraine, as the U.S. is pulling away from helping them out and siding with Russia. So that's kind of a big deal, and we're going to talk about it. Then I'm going to talk about what's going on in Canada, and then we're going to end with everything that's been going on in the States. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just seeing a bunch of stuff happen here on my screen, and I don't know what's going on. All right, there we go. So, as you guys heard, you probably all heard by now that Trump was calling Zelensky a dictator for not having elections in the middle of a ongoing war, an attack on their sovereignty. So Zelensky basically said, you know what, I'll step down immediately if Europe and NATO gives me NATO membership. Obviously, that's not going to happen right away, but Zelensky did the right thing by saying that. However, Ukraine's parliament passed a resolution today that secured Zelensky's presidency until martial law gets lifted. So until they finally come to some sort of a peace agreement, he is going to stay on as the acting president. Rada Deputy Yaroslav Zelensky said that the decision is to hold elections after a comprehensive, just, and sustainable peace is secured. A total of 286 deputies voted in support of the resolution, with no abstentions or votes against. The resolutions also clarified it is currently impossible to hold free and fair elections because of the war, obviously. It added that Zelensky was elected president of Ukraine in free and fair elections, and stressed that neither the Ukrainian people nor the parliament question the legitimacy of Zelensky's current mandate. The resolution states Ukraine's constitution demanded that Zelensky remain in power until a new president takes office. So Zelensky did the right thing for his people. He said that he would give up his presidency if he gets NATO membership, but of course, everybody in Ukraine, the entire parliament, said, no, you have to stay on as the president until we come to some sort of peace agreement, because Trump was just doing what he always does and playing political theater. Yeah, and I actually want to double back to what Zosian said here in the comments. Churchill stayed on without elections because of the world. So back in World War II, they didn't have elections for 6 years because they were fighting for their survival. And nobody seemed to care about that, but, all of a sudden now it's an issue when it's Zelensky, and it's only Trump that had an issue with it. So there was the summit that was held in Ukraine. It was the European summit. Countries outside of Europe also attended the summit, but it was about what are countries now going to do in order to help maintain Ukraine's sovereignty while the U.S. is basically pulling out any help and support. So there was a lot of European leaders there. They're still in talks, but so far The leaders from these countries said that they're definitely going to be on board for supporting Ukraine, either with financial aid, military, etc. So that's Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Denmark, Estonia, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Canada, the UK, France, and the Czech Republic. And many more talked at the summit, and many more are going to come out with support for Ukraine. So that's a little glimmer of hope there, that if all of them come together, they can help the situation. They can basically starve out Russia, because Russia can probably go for another 5 to 6 months. And then they're going to be depleted in their resources. So hopefully, if they can maintain their ground for another 5 to 6 months with the help that they're going to get, maybe this has a good ending in sight. Pickles. I don't know what that means, but that's okay. All right. On the third anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the United States, this is really important actually, so pay attention. On the third anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the United States, alongside Russia, Belarus, North Korea, and Israel, voted against a resolution condemning Moscow, so condemning Russia for what it did. So basically all the dictators are seeming to kind of band together on this and not want to say, oh, Russia did a bad thing. But that should be a really big alarm bell. That should really kind of wake people up if the United States is now siding with Russia and North Korea. That should be a wake-up call. Okay, big wake-up call for people. French President Macron met with Trump in Washington as the first European leader to visit the new administration, warning him against abandoning Ukraine. Macron emphasized that both Europe and the U.S. must ensure security guarantees for Ukraine, despite Trump's claim that Europe is merely loaning money rather than providing real aid. The two leaders had a tense but cordial exchange, with Macron directly correcting Trump's misleading statements about European support. Meanwhile, Trump asserted that Putin is open to a European peacekeeping force in Ukraine, though it would need American backing. European leaders, despite internal agreements, are considering sending troops to enforce peace, but want assurances from the U.S. before committing. So yeah. I don't know if you guys saw the clip. It kind of went viral yesterday about how Macron literally put his hand on Trump to be like, yo, stop lying. You're literally lying about the fact that Ukraine owes you money and that we loaned money to Ukraine, because we didn't. We gave Ukraine the support they needed. And then Trump literally just repeated the lie. He didn't correct himself. He didn't say anything. He just went meh and repeated the lie. So that was wild to see in real time. Another major concern is Trump's apparent willingness to let Ukraine cede territory to Russia in negotiations, a stance that directly contradicts European priorities. Trump is also pushing a controversial mineral deal in which Ukraine would give up mineral revenues to repay U.S. aid, though Kyiv recently rejected a $500 billion demand. Looking ahead, European leaders are working to establish a unified position before their March 6th summit, hoping to maintain Ukraine's sovereignty while navigating Trump's unpredictable behavior. Now, this is the worst case scenario, and that would be a direct Trump-Putin deal that would sideline Ukraine and Europe. And speaking of Putin, Russian President Putin has said that Moscow is ready to collaborate with the U.S. on rare earth mineral production, but that a potential U.S.-Ukraine deal was not a concern of Russia. However, he also said that any Russian deal with the U.S. could potentially involve minerals in Ukrainian territories occupied by Russia. U.S. President Donald Trump earlier said that major economic development transactions with Russia would take place. Within 2 hours of Trump's statement, Putin chaired a meeting with his ministers and economic advisors on rare earth minerals. So, that's great. We all know what they want. They want resources, right? Just going to read out some of the comments here. Yeah, unfortunately, U.S. is going into a full-blown fascist regime. But we all knew this was coming, unfortunately. Oh, sorry. My headphone popped out. I'll be right back. Yeah, I mean, the propaganda that's being spread right now about Ukraine and Europe is just, it's so disrespectful. It's so, so disrespectful. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lee. I know. Don't worry though. We're not against the Americans. We're just against the Americans who voted for Trump and the Trump administration. Trump has no damn shame. I will unalive for my country. Canada will never be the 51st. Yeah. I mean, I think that most Canadians are on board with that. Obviously, we have some Canadians that think it's a good idea to become the 51st state, but unfortunately, they've just been radicalized through online propaganda. And it's a problem. It's a problem that we have to deal with, and it's a problem that our politicians really need to take seriously. And speaking of Canada, let's move over to some Canadian news. So this was actually quite interesting, but a top White House official, Peter Navarro, allegedly proposed expelling Canada from the Five Eyes intelligence sharing network as Donald Trump increases pressure on the country, openly discussing annexing Canada as the 51st state. Now, Peter Navarro later denied saying that he ever said that out loud. So it's still something that reporters are trying to figure out, because there was a ton of reports that came out to say that he said that, and then he himself, when he talked to reporters, said, no, I never said this. So we don't actually know exactly what's going on there, but we know that Trump plans to impose those 25% tariffs on Canadian imports, and that should be starting March 4th, because we had that temporary reprieve for 30 days. So on March 4th, we're expecting those 25% tariffs. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, Navarro was actually recently released from prison for defying a subpoena related to the January 6th investigation. So we know that his influence with Trump's administration remains strong. And for those of you who don't know, the Five Eyes Alliance, it consists of the US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. And it's the world's most important intelligence sharing network. So expelling Canada would weaken security cooperation and would be welcomed by adversaries like Russia or China. And that's what experts are warning. Also, I heard the little gift sound, and I just wanted to say I totally forgot about that. To let you guys know, please help us get our gift goal. Please tap the screen. Tapping is clapping, sharing is caring. So that would be really appreciated from everybody. Now, this was crazy. So former White House strategist Steve Bannon, the Steve Bannon who threw out a salute at CPAC the other day, confirmed that Trump is serious about annexation, arguing Canada lacks the resources to defend itself. However, he opposed removing Canada from Five Eyes, calling it counterproductive given Canada's historical military support for the U.S. Now, he did talk to a CTV reporter, and this is what he told the CTV reporter. Prepare yourselves. The Canadians should take that as the greatest compliment you've ever had. There's not many places in the world that the United States would go around to say, we would really be open and we'd love to see you as a state. So Steve Bannon thinks that this whole 51st state thing is a huge compliment to Canada. Yeah. Let me see what's going on in the comments here. Oh, look, we have a bunch of conservatives. All right. I don't really give them too much time of my day. All right. So speaking about conservatives, The recent IPOS polling shows that the Liberal Party has actually gained a slight lead over Conservatives for the first time since 2021, with a 38% support compared to the Conservatives' 36% support. This marks a significant shift from just 6 weeks ago when the Conservatives held a 26-point lead. The poll was conducted between February 21st and 24th, and it shows that the NDP and the Bloc Québécois experienced some declines in support. But factors influencing this shift include Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's resignation announcement and growing concerns over U.S. tariffs set to take effect, which have moved the focus from past Liberal policies to the present economic challenges. And for anybody, in the comments that say that's a lie, you can go look up the polling yourself. It's literally as easy as a nice little Google search. And it is a poll, so obviously not every single person in Canada answered it. Pretty basic. Okay. While the Conservatives saw a drop in support, particularly in central and eastern Canada, the Liberals gained traction with leadership hopefuls like Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland distancing themselves away from carbon price. The looming threat of Trump's tariffs have spurred Canadians to take an immediate federal election, with 86% of respondents wanting a new government in place to handle the situation. Despite their attempts to adjust their messaging, the Conservatives are facing increasing difficulty in regaining their former position as the election focus shifts towards addressing these new economic concerns. Okay, then. You guys are just having fun in the comments today, hey? This is quite funny. Polls are fake to begin with and illegal as tampering in any real democracy. Thanks for making me laugh, dude. That's funny. Polls are steering tools in child's play. All right. Sure. It's not like they happen in every democratic country in the world. But that's right. You guys want dictatorship. I keep forgetting about that. All right. Some nice news about Canada. Again, over 250,000 Sorry, I'm having a hard time. 250,000 Canadians have signed a petition urging the Canadian Parliament to revoke Elon Musk's citizenship and passport due to his ties with U.S. President Donald Trump. The petition claims Musk's influence over Canadian affairs, particularly his support for Trump's actions, and he threatens Canadian sovereignty. So Musk, who's a dual citizen of Canada and South Africa, has faced criticism for his support of Trump, who has proposed a 25% tariff on Canadian imports and joked about annexing Canada and making it the 51st state. Now, while some argue that Canada cannot legally revoke Musk's citizenship, the petition is viewed as a call for accountability. Musk responded dismissively on social media, calling Canada not a real country. The petition, sponsored by MP Charlie Angus, remains open for signatures until June 2025 and will be reviewed by the Canadian House of Commons. So please, guys, if you haven't signed the petition yet, go sign it. It's crazy. This petition is getting more signatures than the Pledge for Canada, which is wild to me. But it also makes me happy that, 250,000 Canadians have already jumped on this and signed it. So go sign it. Now, while some argue that Canada cannot legally revoke Musk. Oh, yeah, I already read that, sorry. Musk's Canadian citizenship was obtained through his mother, and experts note that citizenship revocation is rarely practiced in Canada unless it involves fraud or national security offenses. However, the petition highlights concerns over Musk's ethical responsibility and influence on global policy. And now let's talk about tariffs, because they are going to come in next week. If, he doesn't back out of it again, but we don't know, right? Everything with Trump over the next couple of years is going to be incredibly unpredictable. So economists do warn that this could be the biggest trade shock Canada has faced since the 1930s, potentially leading to significant job losses. Sectors heavily reliant on U.S. exports like auto manufacturing, energy, agriculture, and construction are expected to be hit hard. Economists predict a drop in Canadian exports by 8.5%, with potential layoffs and production cuts. The tariffs could push Canada into a recession if they last for months, although short-term impacts may be temporary. The auto industry particularly is concerned about immediate production stoppages. While a weaker Canadian dollar might cushion some losses, the overall impact on the economy could be severe, with provinces like Ontario and Quebec facing challenges in manufacturing, and Alberta and others in energy. So hopefully we can start some new trade deals with other countries ASAP and get things moving and get us into a working economy with other countries. We probably will have to suffer a little bit of a hard time, but we already have politicians that have proposed things like similar-ish to CERB for people that, are losing their jobs because of this. I hope Mexico decides to take Cali, Texas, and Nevada back. Spend your money in Canada and help us weather the storm better. Yeah, guys, that's a really good comment. Please, please, please support your Canadian businesses as much as humanly possible. Stop buying American. Focus your money here in our country. And do a little bit of protesting with your dollar. You know what I mean? Protest with your dollar. Stop buying things off Amazon. I know that it's hard if you're in rural areas. I'm not saying everybody can do this, but if you live in an urban area, if you live in a city, if you can go buy the stuff that you need from a store, especially a Canadian store, do it. Do it and cancel your Amazon membership. But little things like that can definitely help, right? Economic blackouts, boycotting certain companies, right? Doug Ford is a part of Donald Trump's posse. I've got evidence. Yeah, we know. It's unfortunate. It's honestly super unfortunate that he is still leading in the polls for the Ontario election. Unfortunately, when it comes to provincial elections, I don't know what is up with Canadians, but they just don't come out and vote. The apathy for provincial elections is huge. There's tons of people in Ontario that have no idea that an election is even happening. And this is exactly what happens. He took the opportunity to call for a snap election so that he could secure a spot for himself for another 4 years. I'm hoping and praying that maybe the message is getting through to people that they need to go out and vote in this Ontario election more than anything. Because having Dougie in power while Trump's in power spells no bueno for Ontario, if you ask me. Buy anything from anywhere but the USA. Good job. Rural was fine without Amazon before they came along. Perry, maybe that's something that you can teach people how to do in rural areas. I've been in an urban area my whole life. It's always been easy for me to kind of walk outside my building and get whatever I need. But I know that not everybody has that privilege. So that would be a good thing to put together. And maybe if you send it to me, I can even make a video educating people on how to do it. But I genuinely have no idea how rural areas managed before Amazon and how hard it would be for them to transition into something else. He just wants to be able to be in power for the whole Trump term so that he can curry favor. Yeah, that's what we're all scared of. Yeah, see, this is what Devin's saying right here, and this is what I've heard too, is that in rural areas, before you had Amazon, you could get things, but then when Amazon came in, it destroyed all of the small businesses that could have done that. So now there's not as many options, or if any. Yeah. Yeah, Amazon is not that cheap. It's not. It's very on par with what you would find in a store these days. I haven't really seen anything that's just that much cheaper on Amazon than it would be if I go to Canadian Tire, for example. Straight up. Stuff made in America isn't even made in America. Yeah, agree. All right, so that's kind of what I have for Canada. Those are the big things, right? We have to keep on educating, keep trying to get people to wake up to the dangers of having a conservative government while Trump is in power, especially. And thank you. And we have to do the best that we can to have conversations with people, even when it gets tough. At the end of the day, like, people are scared of talking to each other. That's how divided we've become these days, is that people would rather just look down at their phone and not talk to people because they're so scared that a political conversation might come up. And it's okay to disagree, but these conversations, we have to have them, even when they're hard, even when they make us feel like angry and frustrated. The best thing we can do is to try to reach people. And a lot of people just don't know what's going on, right? So if you can have an open-hearted conversation with somebody and let them know, like, hey, things are really bad down there. Really, really bad. I mean, these people's freedoms are being taken away. And explain to them why, and give them reputable sources. Then you know what? We might have a little bit of a chance. But at the end of the day, I personally feel like our government really needs to step in and do something. People are getting their info on social media. They're getting their information from memes on Facebook. Like, where are our politicians over on the left side of things? Where are they on social media? Where are they combating this misinformation? Because we're the ones doing it. And yet you have, Pierre Poilievre ads every 5 minutes on YouTube, right? He's all over X, he's all over Facebook, he's all over all of these social media platforms. And I'd like to see the left leaders get on board. I'd like to see them create a misinformation task force in order to take all these lies and all these propaganda and debunk them and create a public place for that, right? That's actually a project that me and my team are working on right now. Completely unsupported by the government. We're doing it on our own, so it's harder for us to get it done with a small group of people. But at the end of the day, we need that right now. So yeah, if you guys are interested in helping me out on this project of debunking all the lies and pointing out all the dog whistles and stuff like that, message me on my personal account, or even DM me here on Beaver Politics, and I'm sure it will get sent to my personal account. But we're trying to put this together, and I'd love to be able to turn it into an actual website where people can go and check all these lies and all these propaganda out, and then have clear, documented resources that can prove them wrong. Because we have that. We know that. I'm in on the project. I'll message you. Thank you. Yeah, all you talk about is CBC lies. That's what you guys have been fed. We're not even, just FYI, people on the left aren't even happy with CBC lately. They've been pandering to conservatives. So, like, in all honesty, it is hilarious that you guys are so against the CBC. It's a federally funded media outlet. Get over it. Yeah, what do you think is a good news source? Tell us in the comments. What's your good news source? Because trust me, I get my news from many different sources, many different sources. And a lot of the times when I can prove something with actual scientific analysis, done by universities, that's been peer reviewed, I'll go with that too. And a lot of the times that matches, all of my news sources. So where are you getting your news from? I only watch investigative journalists. Okay. Which investigative journalists? And yeah, Panda, yeah. Independent Kyiv is pretty good. And I get my news from independent journalists too. That's really important. But sometimes you got to wonder, because some journalists are very much part of the MAGA movement. So I would be sketchy to listen to those guys who call themselves independent journalists. Yep, Reuters, Al Jazeera, The Guardian, those are all great. Those are kind of my top 3 as well, actually. Yeah, see, look at that. Look at all the people in the comment section coming up with really good sources. And usually when they're all on board saying the exact same thing, and sometimes, you know, a lot of these news that we're talking about, the conservative right-wing media talks about them too. So it's hard to debate that that's all lies. Yeah, Rachel Gilmore, that she's absolutely wonderful. That's a real investigative journalist, and she's a Canadian treasure, guys. Support Rachel in whatever way you can. She's absolutely brilliant. She spent most of her time reporting on mis and disinformation and propaganda and the rise of the extreme right through different online groups that you guys are probably aware of, that I'm going to get in trouble if I say out loud what kind of groups they are. But yeah, she's absolutely amazing, guys. Rachel's one of my heroes. But by far, that woman is one of my all-time favorite women in Canada. She's one of my biggest heroes. I absolutely love her. Shout out to Rachel all day, every day. Yeah, brilliant woman. All right, let's move over to talk about what's going on in the States. There is so much going on in the States all the time. So I'm just going to try to cover some of the headlines, and then after this, we're going to open up the panel and have some nice friendly discussions about everything that I just went over. All right, so the White House announced that it will determine... So this is starting, guys. Everything that we talked about with news being shut down and not allowed to report on certain things is starting to happen, because the White House just announced that it will determine which news outlets have access to President Trump, deviating from the traditional system where a pool of independent media outlets covers the president. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt framed the move as a modernization and inclusivity move, claiming that it would restore access to the American people. I don't even know how she justified saying that out loud, but she did. However, media experts raise concerns about potential First Amendment violations, as it allows Trump to choose who covers him, undermining the independence of the press. This change comes amid a federal lawsuit over the Associated Press being barred from some White House events after refusing to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. A judge ruled against restoring the AP's access temporarily without further hearings scheduled. Critics argue that the move threatens democratic principles by allowing the president to control press access. It's almost like we told you it was gonna happen. He doesn't care about any of the amendments. He doesn't care about the Constitution. But, yeah. He's now going to get to handpick which reporters get to cover him. Now, if that doesn't scream dictatorship, I don't know what does. But I feel like I'm saying that every single week, every time I talk about him, so. Okay, moving on. Elon Musk will attend President Trump's first cabinet meeting, despite not being a cabinet secretary. So first time in U.S. history where some random dude who's not even an elected official gets to be part of a cabinet meeting. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed Musk's attendance, noting that he is working with the president and cabinet to address waste, fraud, and abuse. Musk shared a clip praising his efforts, and while he has no formal authority, he is a senior advisor to the president. I can't even read that without laughing. A senior advisor. Yeah, right. He's the guy pulling the strings. We all know. His recent actions, such as demanding federal workers to list 5 weekly accomplishments, have sparked criticism, with some department heads advising staff to ignore the email. Over 20 Doge staffers resigned, refusing to use their skills for dismantling public services. So yeah, that happened. 20 civil service employees resigned from the, Doge department, the Department of Government Efficiency, for those of you who don't know, citing concerns that their technical expertise was being used to undermine critical public services. The resignations from engineers, data scientists, designers, and product managers came after Musk and Trump's administration sought to reduce the size of the federal government. The staffers, previously part of the U.S. Digital Service, the USDS, expressed their refusal to support Doge's efforts, which they felt were driven by political ideologues with insufficient technical knowledge. They also warned that the departure of skilled employees jeopardized the safety and effectiveness of key government services like Social Security, Veteran Services, and healthcare. The resignation reflects a large struggle within the government as Musk's push for a tech-driven overhaul clashes with the needs for careful, responsible governance. Musk has promoted his agenda of bureaucratic cuts, even celebrating his efforts at the CPAC conference with a giant chainsaw. Again, it is crazy when I read this kind of stuff out loud because I can't even believe it's happening. However, the recent firings, layoffs, and resignations of experienced staff highlight concerns about the potential risks to public services and the security of Americans' data. Some employees, like Jonathan Camerons, have criticized Musk's approach and he fears misuse of government data. These developments highlight a broader ideological battle over the role of technology in the government. All right. Next. Let me see if there's any comments. Yeah, sign those petitions to get his citizenship revoked. Yeah, please go ahead and do that. It's going to be important. All right, Republicans on the House Rules Committee have advanced a budget resolution that proposes significant cuts to Medicaid and food assistance programs like SNAP, which could affect millions of low-income Americans. The cuts aim to fund tax breaks for the wealthy, including large corporations and special interests. Despite some concerns within the GOP, they rejected amendment to protect these programs. Democrats strongly oppose this bill, obviously, criticizing it for benefiting the rich while hurting vulnerable families. Analysts warn that the cuts could worsen food insecurity, harm local businesses, and lead millions losing health coverage. This budget plan also contrasts with promises made by Republicans to lower costs for everyday Americans. Democrats, led by figures like Representative Pramila Jayapal, are united in their opposition, while President Trump supports a resolution despite earlier claims against Medicaid cuts. So, yeah, he's going to cut Medicaid. He's going to cut SNAP. So many people are going to lose their benefits, their health care. We kind of knew this was going to happen. The last two pieces here, I'm going to ask the chat first because I don't know if you guys saw it, but did you guys see the video from the GOP town hall meeting with the woman that was dragged out by men who were not police, who could not identify themselves as any sort of authority? One person says, I saw it. Yeah, I saw that. Okay, so that's what I want to talk about because it's kind of a big deal. So at a GOP town hall in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, a woman named Teresa, and I'm so sorry if I pronounce her last name, Teresa Borenpaul, was forcefully removed by unmarked security personnel from a private firm called Lear Asset Management after speaking out during a panel discussion. Teresa, a former Democratic candidate, challenged an anti-AB talking point, leading to a confrontation with the panel moderator. The situation escalated when plainclothes individuals, possibly working with the local sheriff, dragged her out of the room. And I saw the video. They literally put their hands on her and forcefully dragged her out. She tried to resist, and there was about 2 or 3 men that physically removed her from her chair and dragged her out of the building. And they would not identify themselves. People were all filming around it. People were yelling like, "What's your authority? What's your authority?" Nothing. They didn't give any authority. They just dragged her out of there. The incident raised concerns about the use of unidentifiable security forces and their ties to the local Republican Party. The Côte d'Alene police intervened after Teresa was removed, but were initially unaware of the security personnel's identity. Lear's license to operate in the city was later revoked. This event highlights growing tensions over political dissent and the increasing use of private security in such confrontations, especially in regions with a strong far-right influence. So, yeah, that's pretty wild and completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. I'm trying to follow some of the comments here. Yeah, no one helped her. Like, no one helped her. Everybody was just sitting there with their phones out, but nobody helped her. I don't know if people were scared or if that's just what our society has become, that when you see something horrible happening, instead of helping, you pull out your phone and start filming instead. I don't know. But it was infuriating to watch. I'll say that much. Yes, actually they did. So I just heard that Trump issue an executive order to create a gold card. So I will talk about that. That's actually the last point I wanted to bring up. So this is actually quite crazy. I just heard about this before I went live. So I wanted to, I'm actually going to just pull up the news piece on it. There's a bunch of different reports of this, though this is not the only one, but just so you guys know, I am reading from The Independent right now. I can't even believe this is real, but Trump's signing an executive order to give people from other countries a gold card rather than a green card, a gold card to buy American citizenship. $5 million a piece. $5 million a piece, and you can buy yourself American citizenship. So it's very obvious that he is trying to create a nation for the wealthy and enslave everybody else. It's unreal. President Donald Trump announced a new path to U.S. citizenship, a pricey gold card. The U.S. is going to sell gold cards for $5 million, Trump announced in the Oval Office today. We're going to be putting a price on that card for about $5 million, and that's going to give you permanent resident privileges. Plus, it's going to be a route to citizenship, the president said. He branded it as somewhat like a green card, but at a higher level of sophistication. Wealthy people will be coming into our country and buying this card, he said. They'll be wealthy and they'll be successful and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. I think it's going to be extremely successful and it's never been done before. I can't even, I don't want to laugh because it's not funny. It's sad. It's a sad reality, but it's insane. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick clarified that the Trump administration plans to terminate a somewhat similar EB-5 immigrant investor program and replace it with the Trump Gold Card. The EB-5 program allows investors to apply for permanent residence in the U.S. if they make the necessary investment in a commercial enterprise in the United States and a plan to create or preserve 10 permanent full-time jobs. The EB-5 program was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, Lutnick continued. It was a way to get a green card that was low priced. Once vetted, gold card holders can invest in America and we can use that money to reduce our deficit, he added. The president predicted that the gold card will begin at a very high level, bring in very high level people who create jobs. With these cards, you're getting big taxpayers, big job producers, and we'll be able to sell maybe 1 million of these cards, maybe more than that, Trump said. The Kushner family was sharply criticized 8 years ago after the sister of Jared Kushner, then senior White House advisor to his father-in-law Donald Trump, traveled to Beijing to tempt wealthy Chinese with the EB-5 green card with an investment in one of the Kushner family's real estate projects, an offer that a former White House ethics lawyer under George Bush called corruption, pure and simple. The new citizenship pathway comes as the Trump administration cracks down on immigration into the U.S. The president even issued an executive order to end birthright citizenship. An appeals court last week rejected the Trump administration request to pause a lower court judge's order halting the president's executive order. Cool. So, yeah. They're going to be selling off a $5 million gold card so that you can just get right in to the American economy, even though, you know, the tax cuts are for the rich. But this is just another, I feel like this is just another one of his grifts, to be honest. When will people realize rich people don't create jobs? Labor creates jobs. Rich people exploit them. Correct. Mic drop. So yeah, those are the news of the week. By all means, if you guys have other things that you want to bring up, go for it. And I am going to open up the panel so that we can all chat about this kind of stuff. I am just going to be turning on the requests and then come on up. Boom. Requests are open. Let's have a discussion. Why would anybody do this when it's so much cheaper to get the same thing in Canada? Great question. Let's talk about it. Don't be shy. Here, let's see if this will make it easier for people to come up if I change the layout. Now you have little request buttons, right? There we go. Hello, Treaty.
Hey, my friend, how are you?
Oh, you know, alive.
Just so you're aware, I've been multitasking. I'm listening to the debate and you, so I may have missed some things that you're talking about. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I knew tonight was going to be a rough night because of the debate, so I wasn't, having 60 people in here is already great for a night like this when there's a debate going on. So I'm super grateful for everyone that's here.
I only got a few minutes before I hit a dead zone and it all cut out. I just wanted to say something here. So Canada has the Immigrant Investment Program, also called the program. You had to have a net worth of over $2 million. They recently increased the criteria. There was like a backlog that they're working through for like 2 years of this. It ended up being like a temporary foreign worker program for organized crime. So if your net worth was over $2 million and you made an $800,000 interest-free loan to the Canadian government for 5 years, they would give you citizenship. So who would pay $5 million for American citizenship when you can do an $800,000 loan to the Canadian government to invest how they want to get the same thing? And it's a horrible program, by the way. Like a lot of international fentanyl syndicates have gotten their foot in the Canadian door with that citizenship?
No, it's not a citizenship. It's just to apply
Oh,
for permanent residency. Citizenship,
okay.
3 years. It takes 3 years after being in Canada to apply for citizenship. So it's not for citizenship directly, it's to apply. And second of all, they still have to go through immigration process, do a security clearance, do a medical exams. It's not a guarantee thing. It's just one of the paths to apply for immigration. There are other paths for immigration, such as family support. Like if I had a wife, she's from Saudi Arabia, I can apply for her to come. But none of these paths are direct path to citizenship. Just want to make sure people know. And may I mention something else that was on the news? It's about the new director of FBI. He's already going after Comrie. He's opening up an investigation against the former.
Into who? Into who?
You remember that previous director of FBI, the one, the tall guy, Comrie, I can't remember his name.
Oh, so the one that left in order to put the new one in.
Exactly. He's opening up investigation against him. And also, just to let you know, this is my experience recently. I was listening to some American bloggers, and one of them complained after he made sharp blogs on TikTok against Trump, nothing illegal, but sharp criticism. He said Homeland Security was at his door. They left a message that we want to talk to you about your blog. And his response was, I have nothing to say to them. If they want to arrest me, they're welcome to arrest me, but I have nothing to say to them. So my thought on that is the persecution or prosecution, whichever you want to call it, is starting. They're going to go after dissidents, bloggers, and one way or another, they will silence them because that's the nature of the beast of fascism.
Yeah. Unfortunately. It's going to be scary just living down there, so I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I know more people are waking up, more people are trying to, create some sort of resistance right now. We'll have to kind of wait and see. Hi Dan, how are you? All right. Sparkles, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good. How's everybody here?
Again, surviving.
Yeah, some days that's all you can do.
Yeah. How are you doing? Do you have anything to add about, tonight's news hour?
Yeah, just kind of taking it all in.
Did you watch the debates at all while we were doing this?
Was watching a little bit of it, just kind of, long day at work, so wasn't really all, absorbing it all, but interesting stuff.
Who did you like the most in the debates so far? From the little bit that you did hear.
I'm still liking Carney. I don't have any problem with him. Yeah.
Fair.
I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't have come up. I'm just kind of
No, it's all good. It's all good. This is what I was expecting for tonight. Everybody is like half and half all over the place with the debates tonight. So, also love the Beaver. What's your problem with the WEF? Let me know what kind of conspiracies about them you believe and why they're so bad. And also let me know if you know what the IDU is. Just asking for a friend.
Hey, I was just going to let you know I'm watching the debate. They're all pretty good. And, I really liked, they had a good discussion about our military needs right now and trying to get that to that 2% spend and how they're going to achieve it. I never realized too how underpaid our military is. And one of the first things that most of them have committed to doing is increasing the wages of the military, which will help meet that 2% target. So, and also hopefully recruit more people. But
Yeah.
it's been interesting so far. You know, they all look good. But, of course, I also favor Carney, but I'm a big fan of Karina Gould. I always liked Christia too until she threw Justin under the bus. But it's a tough call.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I already know who I like the best out of all of them. I'm not shy from saying that Mark Carney is going to be my favorite. I don't even need to
Yeah,
necessarily hear the debates to know that because I've read his book. I've looked at his platform, and I think he's just got the best chance when it comes to the actual federal election. So
yeah, I
that's who I'm.
agree. And
If
one more
somebody
thing, if
asks
I
me which one
may.
I like the most, it's pretty obvious.
Right, and he's, I think, the best one for the current circumstances we're in. And he talked about, I never thought about this, it's not like a new concept, but I never really gave it much thought about how, because we have 13 economies in this country, and his goal is to turn it into one. And he believes that he can do this and address affordability. So being like our wireless mobility costs, our internet costs, grocery costs, by creating this one economy within Canada, which I think is an interesting concept, and I that would be exciting. But Gould was the only one who said it out loud that she is looking at universal basic income so far.
Nice.
Hey,
I
everybody.
mean, if hi, how's it
Hey,
going?
T-Jack,
Good. How are you guys?
stressed out.
We're here. We're
So,
here.
so the topic I just came in, and it's about who are the four you favor.
Well, I mean, we went over a bunch of different news. We went over a lot of stuff that's been happening over the last week, specifically even today. But I know that there's a lot of people who aren't here that are usually in my live on Tuesdays because they're watching the liberal debates. So
Hmm.
then we kind of moved the conversation over to everybody that was here that was watching me, half watching the debates. I was just asking them like, what did you guys hear that you liked so far? Who do you think did the best, etc.
Well, I can't remember who said it. I wasn't sure, but I do like Karina Gould as a person. I think that she's strong. She didn't take any crap as House Leader. I thought she was brilliant in that regard. Um, I just think that she lacks the experience to take on a Trump. I think that maybe this isn't her time, just my opinion. Christia Freeland is a brilliant woman, brilliant person. I just think that she has too much baggage connected to Trudeau to be of any real success. I think they can really, from the conservative side, tie her to the old days, if you will. And then this
Yep.
Lewis fellow is a non-starter as far as I'm concerned. And I'm all in on Mark Carney myself.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Karina's amazing, but I think that again, I hate this, especially that I'm saying it as a woman. It has nothing to do with her policies. I absolutely love her. I love her policies. I love the fact that she talked about UBI. But we're under so much misinformation and propaganda and so much, hate for women that I don't think it's the right time for a woman to be the leader of the Liberal Party and run in this next federal election. I wish I wasn't saying that out loud. But we saw what happened with Kamala in the States, and I'm too scared. I'm too scared of that. So
Well, I'm glad you said it out loud. Um, like I say, I think that she's an accomplished human being. Um, I just don't think the time is right. I think that he's also connected to the caucus that took him down. I don't know how much she had to do with that. Took Trudeau down, that is. So I think that I think we can sell starting with a clean slate more easily with a Mark Carney than we could with the other three, to be honest.
well, some guy in the comments here is saying that Carney is a Manchurian candidate. How is he that? Let me know. I mean, if you
What
want, we
does that
can bring
mean?
you up on the panel. It means a person who is not loyal to their own country, basically,
Oh,
like what Trump is.
oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
If
So,
if Carney's a Manchurian candidate, then he's also a brilliant actor. I think that the words that he uses, the phrasing that he uses. There's nothing antagonistic about the words and the phrasing he uses. He is quite clear, quite concise in his criticism of Polyev and how he's going to attack Trump and the Trump regime. I don't call it administration anymore; it's a regime. And I, I don't want to dither too much time on Manchurian Candidate. Like, where, sir, may I ask where you got that, or what are you basing that on? If you're still there,
Let's see if he's still in the comments. He's still in the comments. He said all the leaders are, in my opinion. Okay.
okay. I choose to live in a world where when I get up in the morning, I don't think everyone's out to get me. I just
Yeah.
if I drive by an RCMP cruiser, I'm not thinking he's out to get me. Now,
I do.
okay,
Look at this guy. Look at this guy in here. So Trump and Musk showing a fraudulent Biden administration and Obama is bad. LOL. No, that honey, that's just what you're reading from Musk's propaganda. You know that everything he's saying is not real, right? It's a lie to manipulate people like you. It's been proven. It's been proven wrong over and over and over again.
you mean like Emmanuel Macron proved him wrong in the Oval Office today? Made him look like
Yesterday,
oh,
but
yeah,
yeah,
of course, yes, yesterday. Sorry.
yeah.
No, Mr. President. And he puts his hand on the president's arm. I thought that was so incredibly powerful. No.
Yeah, he was like, please stop lying. And the look on his face, you could tell the look on his face. He was like, what the
Well,
fuck
didn't
is
he say
happening?
well, you can believe it if you want? And didn't Macron get the AP into the room? I thought I
I
read.
don't know because the AP technically still can't get in. I just did a piece on that because I don't know if you know, but they're now so Trump is trying to only let journalists that he wants in there from now on. I don't know if was it through an executive order. Let's see. So the White House announced that it will determine which news outlets have access to President Trump, deviating from the traditional system where a pool of independent media outlets covers the president. So, yeah, and the judge ruled against restoring AP's access. So I doubt that they were there because it was literally ruled down by a judge.
Intriguing.
Very, very. But I mean, yeah, it's happening, right? Like there's going to be less and less independent news media that's going to have access to what's going on in the White House, and we're going to see that more and more. And anybody who goes against him is going to be
What do you think of this idea? I was thinking that the Democratic Party should do and set up what we have in a parliamentary system. They should have critics. And so you get a pool of Congress people and senators that are attached to a particular secretary, and they hound them and they question constantly. And they have press conferences and press releases. I mean, with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I mean, can you imagine having some of the most educated Democrats who have wealth of experience being the critic for health? What do you
that
think
would be
about
great, but that the Trump administration would never allow that in a million years.
No. Oh, I'm not suggesting it would be a part of the Capitol Hill process. It would just be something the Democrats would organize.
But I have a question. Like, where are the
If they don't get
Democrats?
physically stopped, if they don't get physically stopped or,
They can run a press
physically
conference whenever they
removed.
want. I mean, what's his name? The guy that left CNN, Jim Acosta. He is saying that the media should just simply boycott press conferences at the White House and have and move away from that.
That would be great,
But they chase the money.
but they chase the money.
Yeah, it
And
does come
and
down to money.
where are the Democrats? Like, where are they?
Yeah.
Scared, trying to work together. There's a lot of them that are trying to do stuff, but they're trying to do stuff like the right way. And the
Yeah.
right way means going through courts, lawsuit after. There's so many lawsuits right now against the Trump administration, but the court process takes forever. And if it ever gets to the Supreme Court, it doesn't matter because it's owned by Trump and his loyalists. So I don't see how anything is going to get done the legal way. I just don't. I mean, this dude is literally not listening to the courts at all.
Yeah, and the courts
So
don't. Well, the courts have marshals, but I mean, I just the courts voted against a Trump. It was a guy that took it. That Trump. It was a guy that was a watchdog. I wish I had that information. He was a watchdog. He got fired. He sued for false whatever that is. A false firing, and Trump. And they were going to a circuit court, and Trump said, "Nope, take it right to the Supreme Court." And they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the guy, and said the lower courts will have to make the decision. So he is getting some pushback, right? And I still think there's hope in the Democratic. Well, now, come on now, Frontline. Gotta have.
no, I'm laughing because a guy in here said United States was a corporation which Trump ended, and now it's a republic. And when I read that, I just laughed because I couldn't help myself.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's nice that they've joined us, right? Oh, there's the pizza. I'll just hold on.
Yeah, and somebody asked, is PP part of the IDU? Yeah, he sure is. All you have to do is go to the IDU website, search up Canada, and you'll see the Conservative Party, and you'll see Pierre Poilievre at the top as the head of the party. So he's a member of the IDU, 110%, guys. That's not really news. He's been part of the IDU for a long time.
Yes, he has.
Oh,
My question is, how is Trump even allowed to run for president? Even though he had 34 felony convictions.
There is nothing in the United States Constitution to prevent a person who's a felon from running for president. In fact, as far as I know, it is the only position in the United States that you can be a felon for. I don't even think you can run for dog catcher if you have a felony conviction. You can't enter the military with a felony conviction. You can't run for governor, senator, none of that stuff. But there's nothing. I think he has to be 35 years of age, has been born in the United States. Like there's 3 or 4 of those kinds of things. Nothing about felonies at all.
just crazy.
In fact, there was some evidence that he could, if he was actually imprisoned before his term, rule from the prison.
Somebody says Canada is a joke, and yet America's the one with a 34 count felon as his president.
Canada's a joke.
No, but the Republican Party are like, oh, the immigrants are harming women and children, while the president in the second party is a friend of Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted sex pest, and is also again a 34 count felon.
Welcome to America.
So what?
Yeah, where your ideals mean nothing.
We just had an individual say, so what if he's a felon? Wow.
I
Okay.
think someone who is tasked with first and foremost with making sure laws are enforced, should have some regard for the rule of law, but
I mean, it's not a democracy anymore down there. It's not. It's an oligarchy. It's a dictatorship. It's exactly what Russia is. Russia is run by criminals.
Except in the U.S.
Literally.
Except in the U.S., you still have late night talk show hosts and you still have news desks. Like
For now.
Yeah. for
Russia took, I think it took about 2 to 3 years, maybe even longer, for them to actually get rid of all the news sources and replace it all with the state-run media. It took them a while. They started doing it one by one by one. There are so many independent journalists from Russia that are now all over the world in other countries because they had to leave, because they had to run for their life. And I'm talking about their life. And people sometimes still follow them, even in other countries, to keep an eye on them to see what they're saying about Russia. I kid you not. And this is going to be happening in the States. So, people are being threatened, their lives are being threatened, and it's going to happen. It's not going to happen right away. It's only been a month, but we're already starting to see it, right? We're already starting to see them take all of these actions that are going to push out any sort of independent news. Anybody that doesn't agree with him, any descendants whatsoever are going to be completely pushed out of office, pushed out of the media, threatened, bankrupted, you name it. It's you're either for them or you're
Well,
done.
they're very evangelical about their politics. The Republicans, they're very. What I mean to say is that they were all in right away. If I were to overtake the state, if it were me and I was in his position, I would go a hell of a lot slower and do it a lot more surreptitiously than they're doing it. The way they're doing it, in my view, is creating alarm bells all over with average citizens that may not have been alerted if they had taken a more slower tack. So you go, and I think it was in Illinois, a mega citizen, this is I read online, goes in to the pharmacy to get their insulin, has the $6 out, and it's $80. So now you're creating this whoopsie in tons of areas. Like this whole thing, how many times have you emailed Elon Musk about what you did last week, the 5 things you did last week?
Yeah.
I've emailed him 3 times telling him what I did last week. And I can't wait to hear back.
I find the like price, especially of like insulin, it fucking insane in the US. Considering the patent to synthesize insulin was sold only for $1.
Yes.
Shit, that is a true story.
And autism medication now jumped from, I kid you not, $18 to, or I think 18 to $40, somewhere around there, to $1,400.
Yes, I have a friend in Florida who was using that medication, and they're really they don't know how much longer they can hold out.
Yeah,
Like
that's the reality of what's happening.
Down here in Australia, like prescription meds, even like prescription painkillers, if you have the prescription for them, they're dirt bloody cheap.
Same with Canada.
Yeah.
Hello,
Hey,
Australia. How you doing?
We're also doing shit. It is bloody hot down here. It is hot down here, and well, I'm in Melbourne, so
You've got an election coming up, don't you?
Look. To be fair, I talk shit about every city I've lived in.
Caroline, I have a question for you. You did that video about that woman that was in your class and how she was saying that she was looking forward to being the 51st state and something about free healthcare. Did she explain to you why she thinks they have free healthcare down there?
Because Donald Trump said that. Because when he said, "Oh, Canada's going to be part of the 51st state, you guys are going to get the best healthcare," it's just what he said out loud, and it got clipped and it got shared everywhere on the internet. And she saw a clip of it and went, "Oh, great! We're going to have great healthcare."
All right.
Yeah, no, I know, but she in her mind she was like, "Oh, but it's gonna get better." Like I think she thought that maybe America already has free healthcare. I don't know. It was wild.
Right?
Free healthcare, even though it costs $40,000 to give birth.
Yeah. Tell us about the elections that are going on in Australia.
We have we have Mr. Potato Head running. He's pretty much a bald version of Trump. And our other main party is also just flat out incompetent, and they don't listen to their constituents. Not only that, we don't have a 2-party system in Australia, so like
We don't either, so it's okay. We
Yeah.
get it.
so our Greens
Who's
party
leading?
can
Who's
actually
leading in
win.
Who's leading in the polls right now?
So far Labour might be. I'm not too sure.
And who's your like far right conservative party that you guys are scared of?
The Liberal Party.
The Liberal Party would be the far right party. Okay.
Yeah, there are.
And how much
conservative party.
support? How much support do you think they have?
Oh, a shocking amount. Even though they probably won't win the election. They still have a shocking amount of support. You got to remember, like, Australia is still a very racist country.
I know, that's why I'm kind of wondering what's happening down there in that sense, because there's obviously an extreme rise of the far right all over the world right now. I mean, look how much support the AFD got in Germany. Yeah, they didn't win the election, but they got a massive opposition. So I mean, that's why I'm wondering.
Yeah, I mean, God. I mean, what's the German fellow's name? Is it Mers?
Yeah, Mers won, the CDU won the election, and even their conservative right party, they're not a far right party, but they're still a conservative right party. They're still a member of the IDU.
Well, he's not. He said that he will not work with the second place party.
Yeah, I know. He's going to make probably an alliance with the Social Democratic Party so that they can kind of work around the AFD, because the AFD is too extreme even for them. You know what I mean? But they are still a member of the IDU. So it's like, they're still conservative. Let's put it that way. Like, they've still been, against certain social programs. They've still been a little bit like anti-immigration, but they're a mild version, right? Our conservative party is actually, I would say, probably more extreme right than the CDU in Germany.
Yeah.
And they actually, like, Frederick Merz is a competent politician, unlike PP. The
Well,
guy can carry himself.
I thought his speech at the European conference for Ukraine was brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's a competent politician. He's a good politician, but he's still on the right, and he's still an IDU member.
Right.
But I'm happy that it's him and not Alice,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm still one of those people that, like, when it comes to IDU members, I'm like, let's just wait and see. Let's wait and see if he carries through with the promises that he's made.
Right.
Because, PP gives us a lot of promises too, but we all know that he's not going to be able to keep up with them.
I don't think he has the intellect to.
He doesn't. I don't think he does.
The only politicians I can say I'd be reasonably afraid of are far-right politicians that also happen to be very charismatic. Those are the only ones I can say with confidence that I'd be reasonably afraid of. For very good reason too.
That might be our silver lining right now, is that PP is not the most charismatic guy.
Yeah.
Look at this guy in the comments. PP is best for Canada. Liberals will continue to destroy Canada. How are the Liberals destroying Canada? Let me know.
Free healthcare. Oh, well, think of the children.
Yeah, DEI. That's how we're destroying Canada. I'm pretty sure.
I think what people like that mean by destroying Canada is being open to diversity and to protect women's rights and to protect the rights of trans and gay people. That really, the Trudeau Liberals have really gone all the way in on that, and that really pissed off a lot of the convoy crowd, a segment of the Conservative Party that just resents the hell that the traditional stay-at-home mom, white Canada isn't the way it is anymore. That just pisses them off.
And I think a big part of it too, because I do have a lot of conversations with conservatives, and at the end of the day, I think a lot of it outside of like the stereotypical, hate for anyone that doesn't look like them, is also the economy. And they've been fed these lies about all of this corruption and, we're in such a big deficit. And like, I get it. I know we're in a deficit, but like, the government is not a business, and they treat it like a business. But even then, they're not actually business people. They're not economists. So all they spout constantly is how bad our Liberal government was for all the corruption and the deficits and all of these, completely misinterpreted and fabricated pieces of propaganda, because that's how propaganda works, right? They take one tiny little piece of truth and then they coat it with a lot of lies, and then they push blame onto someone else. So I think a lot of when you talk to conservatives, the number one thing they're going to say is corruption, corruption. And I mean, look, it's the same thing that happened in the United States, like same exact narrative, right? The Democrats were corrupt, and now Elon Musk is coming in to clear up all the corruption and cut government spending. And it is the exact same propaganda. And it started in the United States, it moved up to Canada. The convoy people took it and ran with it. And so now, whenever you ask a conservative why the liberals made this country broken, they're going to spew off the exact same thing the MAGA Republicans in the States did. Because of all the corruption, they didn't handle properly, the immigration was terrible. It's all the American talking points. They're all the same.
Well, it's this idea that Musk is cleaning up and government and making it more efficient. Okay, it's not rocket science to cut $2 trillion from a budget if you don't give a shit about what you're cutting. I mean, they're on the cusp of cutting Medicaid, and
Yeah.
that is a white whale that should never be touched. That is, but they're going
No,
to.
they are going to cut it.
They
They
are
are
going
going
to
to cut it.
Yep.
It's
And
100%. It came out, actually, it came out today. Yeah, they signed a budget resolution that proposes significant cuts to Medicaid and food assistance programs like SNAP.
yeah.
That happened. He promised them that that Medicaid wasn't going to be touched, and surprise, surprise, it's getting touched.
Well, I'd like to see
The only
these.
reason I think anyone should touch any kind of social healthcare program is to improve it. Sorry. Like,
Yeah.
it's. There are
That would
many
be
ways
my
that you could
campaign.
touch it,
Yeah,
but,
that would
like,
be my campaign slogan for sure.
in Australia, we have. Our Medicare in Australia is kind of shit. You still have to pay for healthcare, and not everything's covered. A lot of things aren't covered that really should be covered. Like, dental, I have to pay a few grand for dental.
That's what it's like here too for a lot
That's
of
what
people.
it's like here too.
For most people.
But we're getting our dental care program is rolling out to more and more Canadians.
Yeah, for
So
anybody who doesn't have pre-existing insurance, they should be covered by the end of the year.
yeah,
Hey, happy.
so
But
we're
I
we're
went to
heading
the
in a
doc-
better direction.
Sometimes we feel that way, but other times it's kind of scary. I went to my doctor's, for instance. I got 2 points. But I went to my doctor's because I was in a car accident, and so they blah blah blah. Do your soft tissue stuff for the first month, and then we'll take X-rays and we'll see where you are. Okay, so I go in, get the requisition for the X-rays. It's outsourced to a quote unquote private, not so private facility, which is being paid for by our OHIP dollars. So I didn't have to pay a penny out of pocket. But like when you hear of people doing cuts and you're like, well, I could see them implementing like, okay, well, you're going to have to pay an extra subsidy to your healthcare as a deductible for certain things, for instance, and starting to whittle away at the insurance or the coverage that we have because, we're paying privatized companies to do it. So that's kind of a slippery slope, I think is a little messed up. And then like, Pierre Poilievre, you were talking about just moments ago and his viability, but like I was listening to Peter Mansbridge and Chantal Hébert on The Bridge, and they were talking about a plus minus a raw stat, a raw like plus minus. Do you like them? Yes or no? If you get yes, it's a plus. If you say no, it's a minus. And Pierre's minus, like his negative, is so far down that it wouldn't be inconceivable that there was some kind of dissidence, uprising against him. Because Stephen Harper spoke out in a different direction than what Pierre Poilievre was talking about. So he's losing his likability amongst his own crew.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, if there isn't an election sometime soon, like it's possible that they'll kick him out, which might play against us, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can almost guarantee the election is going to come late spring, early summer.
That's what I was saying too, because the June 7th summit, but with all the moves that Trudeau's doing right now overseas, all the deals that he's making, the dire circumstance right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to prorogue Parliament again.
I mean, what Carney was saying is that whoever wins in the leadership race, they're going to call for elections themselves, just so they could get a new government set up and ready to go for what's
Yeah,
coming, like fast, rather than proroguing, and because that's gonna piss off a lot of people.
I no doubt, no doubt. I mean, I wouldn't be that angry.
I mean, I wouldn't either, but we all know that the convoyers would probably throw a hissy fit because they don't understand how prorogation works. And they seem to forget that Harper prorogued in total about 6 months of government back when he was PM. So,
Absolutely correct. And the funny thing is this is like the when we see what Trudeau is doing right now, it's like the most active he's been in the public eye. Right? Like, we've seen him, negotiating, shaking hands, whatever. Um, but like right now, it's like one after the other. Things are getting signed, things are getting done, trade partnerships, like it's just like kind of like taking people off kilter, and like there's a lot more support for those kinds of parties. Where'd Jack go?
I don't know. He left us.
Oh
TJ, we
boy.
miss you already.
And
Yeah, no, there's definitely. I mean, this is all because of the Trump administration, right?
yeah.
None of this would be happening if it wasn't for the Trump administration. We wouldn't be having to hurry to make all these new deals and hurry to help Ukraine. And yes, all of this is just happening because of what's going on down south. So,
Oh yeah, and I found it. And then now they're talking about taking Canada out of the Five Eyes.
yeah, so Peter Navarro said that. And then immediately he said that, oh, no, 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 I never actually said that.
Oh, did
So
he?
now there's like all this back and forth between reporters because half of the reporters are like, no, you said this. And then the other half are like, well, when we asked him, he said that he didn't. But did you hear what Steve Bannon said?
Scared to ask what it was.
So Steve Bannon actually said that they shouldn't pull us out of the Five Eyes. But then he followed up with, and I quote from Steve Bannon, the Canadians should take, what this was talking about the annexation, the Canadians should take that as the greatest compliment they've ever had. There's not many places in the world that the United States would go around and say, hey, we'd really like you to be open and we'd love to have you as a state. He also said that we can't defend ourselves and we don't have the resources and we're nothing without them.
NATO
But
Article 5 of NATO has something to say about that.
They're a big part of NATO. But I also saw
And also
something.
the Commonwealth.
they're part of NATO, but they're not part of NATO anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like they're part of NATO, but they're not going to take any action to protect any of the NATO countries. And they've made that very clear. And now they made very clear that they're siding with Russia and North Korea, as well as Belarus and Israel. That's who they're siding with, especially in this whole Ukraine thing, because all of them came together and they said
Oh
that they
yeah,
do not condemn Putin for what he did.
I heard that Belarus is obviously going to side with Putin, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean it's a Russian puppet there, so it's
that
it's
was
it's just
really
an extension of Putin.
yeah, exactly. Which was what Ukraine was before the current administration. I might
Well, but Ukraine was on and off, right? Like Ukraine was on and off. They've been fighting for their independence from Russia for a
oh,
long
for
time.
sure.
And
My
so
father,
they
like,
actually had a good democratic leader before Yankovic was placed in there with force.
yeah. When my father was there, like so one of the big issues was that there was always money going back, and that money going back was always funneled through the mob.
Yeah.
And this was known business. That's how business got conducted. It was accepted, and that was fine. And my father was a trade commissioner in Ukraine. He lived in Kiev for 8 years, and he's an economic developer. So like part of his big thing was like developing trade relationships, and he said one of the major obstacles was always like trying to trying to get the most for your money, because the mob would always try to take their skim the top, and you had to kind of just wash your hands. And once they got the money, you had to kind of like step back, and it was a really big deal. But at that transition period, when the current administration, you might be right, there might have been another guy before him.
Yeah, there was.
I know Poroshenko was pretty Russian favorable, was he not?
Let me pull up all of their leaders, and then once I see their faces, I'll be able to tell you.
But when I know when Klitschko took over as mayor, and when Zelensky took over as president, a lot of that money stopped going back to Russia, and that became problematic for any kinds of other relations, right?
Yeah. Come on, guys, show me pictures somewhere.
He also said Zelensky's going to sign that deal for the minerals, and it's going to put U.S. military bases in Ukraine to protect the mineral rights that they're getting. So, like U.S.
He rejected it. He rejected the $500 billion deal.
Yeah, he said there's a couple of people that said that are close to it that have said he's going to sign it by the end of the week.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and the logic there, whether or not he does, if he doesn't, then this won't happen. But if he does, this is why. The U.S. will put military installations near their.
Go ahead. Oh, I think you're frozen, Happy. Can any of you guys hear him? Is it just me?
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
I see him blinking.
Oh, I see his mouth moving.
Yeah. We see you talking, but we can't
Oh,
hear
there
you.
we go. You were frozen there for a while.
Was I frozen for everybody, or just the people in? Oh, nobody can hear me.
No, now we can. Now we can. Speak if you're there.
You know, Hublai, like it's not about whether or not I'm claiming to know something. I'm just saying that this is one of the possibilities that was put out there in public. Like it's not my own my own thought, right? Like I'm just saying this could happen. And if we think like no US boots are touched down there, like I don't think that's ever stopped them before.
Yeah, well, I mean, so Putin said that Moscow is ready to collaborate with the U.S. on the rare earth mineral production, but that a potential U.S.-Ukraine deal was not a concern of Russia. He did say that any Russian deal with the U.S. could potentially involve minerals in Ukrainian territories occupied by Russia. And then Trump said that major economic development transactions with Russia would take place. And within 2 hours of Trump's statement, Putin chaired a meeting with his ministers and economic advisors on rare earth minerals. So I think that they're going to, quote unquote, have a peace deal if Ukraine ends up giving its minerals to United States, which will probably end up being bought and used by Russia.
Yeah, that's what Hublai is saying. But Putin also mentioned that they were opening up trade talks with the United States now that hadn't been done before, and now they have like, how much did he say he was going to make off the U.S. now? It was like $2 million a month. No, it was something outrageous. And it had to do with fossil fuel.
Yeah, well, we all know that they want the resources that were always there, right? Because that's why Putin always wanted to place a puppet in their government so that he could continue using their land for resource extraction.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Oh yeah,
it is
and I said
unfortunately.
that from the beginning. I have said that from the beginning. I have maintained that this was all a ruse to not even just a ruse, but like direct action to take over the mineral rights in Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean it's
Uh,
the same reason that they're talking about annexing Canada. It's for resources.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna
100%.
have to head out. My phone's running low, and I'm starting to zone out a lot. So,
That's totally okay. Thanks for being here. Do you want to say anything before you go?
uh, all I can really say is keep an eye on the news. That's all I can
Yeah.
really say.
Well, that's what I do all day, every day. So,
Uh,
unfortunately,
I was just gonna say your front line's pretty good at that. Copy.
anyway, see you guys later.
thank you for being here, and good luck in your guys' election as well. If I don't talk to you soon,
Yeah. Anyway, later.
later.
Bye bye bye.
Does anybody know who Chef Mario is?
Nope.
Have you guys ever had Chef Mario on your live before?
Mario Zelaya or whatever. Is that what you said?
It's just Chef Mario. I see him in
Oh,
the request. Well, let's bring him up and see what he's got to say. Hello, how are you?
Yo, what's up?
Can I
Well,
just
I'm
have your
so
age
torn.
for Can I just get your age for TikTok purposes?
My age. Oh,
Yes.
honey, I'm like gonna be. Do I have to say I'm gonna be 45? Oh my God.
There you
well, you
go. We
still
just
wouldn't be
needed to
the
know
only
that you're
person
over
here.
18. We just needed to
Of
know
course I'm
you're over
over
18.
18.
Hi, Jana.
Hi
That's what you
everyone.
should ask them. You should say, "Are you over 18?" You can usually tell right away.
Well, you have a pretty young voice.
Do I? No, I
Yeah,
don't.
I genuinely
I
thought you
have
were
a
like
I
16.
have a young voice.
You
I
do.
have a young voice.
Take it
Wow.
as a compliment.
No. I'll take it as a compliment, but maybe you should reevaluate your way of figuring out people's ages by their voice. I don't
Well,
know.
we
I
need to
mean, that's
ask.
why I
I
asked
don't.
you.
I don't feel like I
Dude, just get
sound.
over it.
Do I?
Get
You're
over
getting
it.
No,
really
I'm all right.
defensive
Who gives
about
a
All right.
this.
fuck?
No big
You got
deal.
something to say? Say it.
All good.
We're not here to talk about your age, are we?
Okay. So
And
what's
how
the what's
sensitive you are to being asked how old you are?
I get asked all the
It's
time.
okay. Just it's all
sensitive
good.
at
It's
all?
all good. Let's not.
Shit or get
It's all
off
good.
the
What do you
pot.
want to? What do you want to add to the conversation, Chef?
Well, I just popped in, so I really kind of don't know what you guys were having a conversation about. What were you guys? Can you
We're
give me?
talking about. We were talking about Ukraine.
What about them?
We're just talking about the situation, everything that's going on. The U.S. pulling out its help and its support.
What have the changes been today? Anything today? Or is it just the status
Uh,
quo?
Things change every day. You're right.
Yeah, I know. That's what's going on in Ukraine is just. I would say I'm
I thought
disappointed, but it's so much more than that. I'm.
I thought Trump was going to do everything under his power to have it stop once he became elected. I thought that was his whole thing.
yeah. So siding with Russia is obviously his way to make it stop. Siding with Russia, pulling out support.
Right.
Exactly. Nothing good. Nothing good for Ukraine, anyway.
Is he trying to
Yeah.
force them to stop? Maybe he's trying to force Putin to stop because it's like, look, it's not fair. See?
He's meeting with Putin behind Zelensky's back to try to pan out a deal
They're
for
best friends.
Zelensky's country. I don't think that that's very
I think that's
cool.
how they're trying to stop it.
It's not their place to stop, though. That's the thing. Russia invaded a sovereign nation. It is not the United States'
Yeah, but you have
place
to
to say whether
exactly.
they're going to keep
You're right.
fighting for their
Exactly.
sovereignty or not.
That's like, here's an example. Okay, if you know why Putin wants to take Ukraine, you would understand that Ukraine was technically Russian at one point, correct? So technically,
So,
he just wants. No, just wait. Just let's listen. That's like him just wanting to take the country that he lost a long time ago. Okay, fine,
That's
we get
wrong.
it. But
Even when Ukraine was a part of the USSR, it was still identified as its own people, its own
exactly,
culture.
exactly.
Does that mean we
And
can
that's
take
why
Russia?
Ukraine was one of the
I'm not
first
saying I'm
breakaway
not saying
states,
it's right
like
for him
Russia.
to do that. But here's an example. Say 50 years from now, if you guys ended up, or if the United States ended up taking Canada as a 51st state, and then 50 years from now, there we want to we want our Canadian back. It's the same thing, right?
what are you talking about? That
You,
didn't
you
even
know this whole
fully.
thing about how the United States wants to take Canada and make it the 51st state,
Uh-huh.
right? So technically, what I'm saying is, say that happened, and 100 years
Okay.
from now, us as Canadians want our country back, and we end up
We're
bringing
not
it back.
losing our country. How about we
Well,
stop right
that's what
there?
I'm saying. I'm just saying,
Why are we
if
speaking
that
of
happened, bro.
hypotheticals?
Why
I'm
are we
saying if that
assuming
happened.
that
No, but that's not even the same situation, though. That's not
Okay,
even the same
what if? Okay,
situation.
I'll
That's not
hypothetically
even
say
close to
if
anything the same because Russia didn't take Ukraine
okay,
and now Ukraine is trying to fight for their freedom away from Russia. They are already their own sovereign nation.
exactly. What I'm saying is, what if that same scenario was between U.S. and Canada? You know what I'm saying?
No, you're not
Then
making
Canada
sense.
has every single right
What
to
if in
fight
the
for
future
their
that happened?
sovereignty.
What if
Would,
Canada
would,
burnt the
would
country
it
to
be
the
right
ground,
for them to
salted
have a
the earth,
war
and
and
poisoned
fight
the
for it?
water? Like,
Hey,
what are you talking
what if
about?
asteroids come from the
Well,
sky, Mario? Like,
What if dinosaurs re-emerge from the
Oh, well,
ocean?
now you're thinking.
What if we
no,
went
but no, no,
swimming?
no. Let's hold on, hold on, hold
I
on, hold on.
understand the what if thing.
Let's put
I'm
it.
just saying,
Hold up.
what if our
I'm just
scenario
gonna
was the
mute
same?
people if you guys don't all shut up.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Um, okay, so yeah, let's put it that way. Russia invading a sovereign nation, US invading Canada as a sovereign nation. We have every right to fight for our sovereignty. So why
Exactly.
doesn't Ukraine then have the same right by your logic?
I think they do.
Okay,
I'm not
great.
disagreeing or agreeing with Putin. I agree with that they should stick up, and there shouldn't be it because that's why I brought up if it was the same situation with U.S. and Canada. Like it's like,
Okay,
excuse
so then
me,
we're all on the
we
same
have our own
page.
country.
So then we're all on the
Okay,
same page. We all want the same thing. We want sovereignty for countries that are sovereign.
in which case, Putin needs to back the heck out of Ukraine and stop invading. It's that simple.
you
Which
have
That's the
actually
you have
solution.
for me
yeah,
as well.
there's nothing good that comes out of this, obviously.
Well, there is for Russia if they have to give if Ukraine ends up having to give up land while Trump tries to quote unquote negotiate for them.
Negotiations amount to give up everything you've lost,
Mm-hmm.
stop fighting for what's yours, give up your mineral rights,
Yep.
Well,
and
is
beg
that like
for the mercy of
what kind of
Vladimir
stuff do they
Putin.
have in Ukraine that makes
They have some
them
very precious minerals that they can get only from Canada, and I think Ukraine has some of them as well. That's why the States is backing it.
like minerals for what? Like
Honestly, I think it's stuff that
Just
is
say
used for
natural
microchips.
resources
Yeah,
then.
natural
probably
resources.
for like yeah. Because that's what
They,
I was had this conversation with someone the other day. I'm like, what makes the country, you know, um, I don't know, because it's the same thing with the United States wanting Canada. They're like, we have so
natural
many
resources.
resources. What are our resources? Like, we have a lot of resources than people think. You know,
Yeah, and it's the same stuff there, and it's because Russia was already using Ukraine for its resources
Mm-hmm.
until Ukraine decided, no, we've had enough of this. We want to be a fully democratic, independent nation because they kept
yeah.
having Russian puppets placed in their government so they could do backdoor deals with Russia. And the Ukrainian people revolted against it. And when the Ukrainian people finally revolted against it, Russia went, we're going to invade then, because they invaded first in 2014. This is not, it didn't just start in 2022. The mass scale invasion started in 2022, but they started with Crimea back in 2014 after Yankovic got pushed out of government by the people.
Oh my God, remember that guy? Yankovic. What year was that? Like, what was that
Zelensky
in?
was not a coup,
2014.
right? Zelensky was part of a movement to eradicate corruption. But I actually,
What was Zelensky though? Was he not an actor or something?
I can't.
What does it matter? I don't know.
Yeah, why does it matter what he did? He was actually a comedian.
Comedian. I'm just trying to remember what it was.
Yeah. I don't know where Happy went, but
Yeah, he just kind of disappeared. He might have got booted out. Sometimes TikTok does it.
I know. What does it mean? That's my question.
nothing. Doesn't mean anything.
Ronald Reagan was an actor. A lot of people have all
interesting
types
to
of
see his stand-up act. See if he's actually funny.
Not something I care about. I bet he's not feeling very funny right now, to be honest.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I don't think he feels like making a lot of jokes at the moment.
Did you see him with Justin Trudeau, though? The hug they had? That was so sweet.
It was.
You can tell they're good people.
Was that recent?
Yeah, I stayed up.
Yeah, yesterday, I
Yes.
think.
I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, I stayed up yesterday to watch the full, well, all the videos from the summit with all of the different leaders that were speaking, and there were some really, really, really good speeches.
Mm-hmm.
You know who should run for prime minister? Would just be the funniest thing, and I think he would get the vote, and it would just him. Imagine him and fucking Donald Trump. Could you imagine if Tom Green ran for prime minister and
Not
ended up
really.
winning? Bro, that would be the most trollingest thing we could ever do, bro.
I think there's a lot to being a prime minister. Just being a troll might not be a big qualifying factor.
Yeah, but I mean, no, like look up, Theo Vaughn. He did a podcast just like a couple days ago with Tom Green, and I watched it. And Tom Green is a fucking smart man, bro. Like you think he's just a stupid actor? And
I don't think he's a stupid actor. I just think that maybe
he's very like
be a prime minister.
Maybe a top economist that's worked
Don't read what I'm
everywhere in the
saying,
world and
because
has really good networking powers might be a better idea.
I heard
but
of
if
someone
you
like that.
watch the clip about him talking about U.S. and Canada on the Theo Vaughn thing, and you'll change your mind. You go, okay, he knows what he's talking about, like about politics. To be honest, I was surprised.
Okay, well, he's not an option, so.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
exactly.
just saying that would be such a funny thing for us to have him sit down with Donald Trump, bro. That would be the funniest thing ever.
Might be funny, but not an option.
I was watching some of the debate. It was pretty good, actually. Carney had some really great ideas. Actually, they all had some really good things to say. I was really, it's really interesting to watch the Liberal leadership debate because they're so goddamn polite to each other. It's so Canadian. It's so Canadian.
Yeah, I heard Karina Gould was really, really good.
She was actually, you know what? She is not my vote this time around, but I was impressed, and I will be keeping an eye on her for future. Like Carney has my vote. Like he would have had to do something astronomically. Like someone would have to stand out way more than him, or he'd have to do something incredibly stupid for me to say no. At this point,
Yeah.
he's very solid. A lot of people are latching onto his little mistake yesterday with his French, and I'm like, if that's the most you can find, I think he's doing pretty damn good.
Excuse me.
Yeah. At the end of the day, right now, I care more about what he can do for Canadians than if
Exactly.
he messes up his French.
It was a small grammatical error in French.
Was there any women at the debate?
Too.
Yeah, there was Krista Freeland and Karina.
Oh,
Yeah. But no, it was a pretty good debate. I'm really interested to see how much different it is to when we see like all of Canada, like the leader debates. That will be interesting to see if they can remain as
Yeah, we
polite.
gotta stream those.
Yeah.
stream
Sure.
those like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it like I love Karina, and I wish that we were in a better time right
Me too.
now, but economically with what's going on, with the geopolitical tensions, um,
Yeah.
it's just not her time yet. But hopefully she gets people thinking about her now, and hopefully we'll have a future with fair elections.
Exactly. And then we can see. I was, like I said, I was very. I've never really had a lot of experience listening to Karina speak, but she really does hold her own, and she has some really good ideas.
Yeah, for sure.
Hi, Beaver. It's my
Um,
first time on here. I'm sorry, I haven't subbed you yet. I just wanted to jump in, but I just finished watching the English liberal debate there, and it's like, and even on reviewing the French ones that I reviewed, it's just really cool how they're all uniting. I think they just have conceded that Carney's probably going to be the guy, and they're just all acting as a party together and
Yes.
uniting against the conservatives. And it's just such a cool, classy way of Canadian politics that's refreshing and oppositional to what the conservatives have got going on. And it was a joy to watch.
I agree, Colin. It was a breath of fresh air because they weren't attacking each other. They had differing opinions on things, but it wasn't about attacking, and it wasn't about trying to get that
Yeah,
aha
and they were
moment,
very
that got
slight.
you moment. You know.
I just want to ask
Exactly,
somebody quickly
exactly.
here
You
in
know
the
what?
chat. Somebody said any woman who votes for Carney don't give a shit about women's rights. Why do you say that? Out of curiosity, why do you say that?
I'd love to hear that.
I'm just wondering, like, is it something that you saw in the debate, or like, where do you get that idea from? In 2007, okay. What happened in 2007? Personal. Okay, that makes sense. I totally get it. Something personal happened in 2007, and that's why Mark Carney doesn't care about women's rights. Got it.
Well, I guess we should vote for Tom Green then.
See, I told you.
Up there, I wrote
Tell you,
it.
watch. Even just look up the clip on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's the Theo Vaughn.
Yeah, I've seen it. He's not running the country, no.
I'm not saying, bro. You know what I'm saying.
He's a funny guy. I like Tom
I
Green.
just think that would be the most funniest thing, having like those two as the.
It might be fun,
I
fun
still-
comedic
I
wise,
don't-
but I
I-
just don't think it's what's best for our country. We don't need funny right
It
now.
could be.
We need somebody who's serious.
I think you need to laugh sometimes. That's all.
I do laugh. I
We
just
can
don't
laugh
think
in
I
our
need my
free time.
politician right now
I just think
being
if
the
it's
source
done
of my
right,
laughter.
We can laugh also and do it right. Why can't we do both?
I'm trying to go up to see what she wanted to say about how Carney doesn't care about women's
not
rights,
finding
but
it.
I'm not finding it either.
I've looked where it's been. It was filtered.
It was
Like
filtered.
it didn't come through. So you're gonna have to watch what you're saying because the TikTok filter.
I think, I mean, she sounds like she's most likely on the conservative side or something, because
Yeah.
what I see here is that's what USA is saying to Canada. We don't want to be used. We're not using them.
No.
They're using us, if anything. And at the end of the day, it's not even who's using what. We just had a trade deal with each other. Easy. End of
People in the
story.
U.S. forget how many people that live in Canada. Like if you realize the population of the whole state of California has more than the whole country of Canada, you go, holy shit! The United States have a lot of people, bro.
That's why they want more land.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like you don't have any more land. The only reason why we only have a percentage of population a lot. I mean, I wonder what that would be. What percentage of land mass? I mean, but I guess our land mass is not that big. It's just spread out because everything's spread out, especially up north.
Well, no, it's big. It's just a lot of our landmass is protected.
Well, it's not even that. A lot of our land you can't live on. There's mountains and forests, and you know what I mean. Like a lot of Americans would go, well, how come most of the population just lives on the southern borders? It's like, because if you look at a fucking topography map, Like,
Apparently
you
now
know,
we have state parks.
you can't live in the woods like that. Like,
What the heck is that with the state parks? Like, is Google just like doing whatever Trump's team says now, even just to troll us? Because
well,
that's
I think they're
that's
just
plain
trolling
trolling.
us.
It's plain trolling.
they're just trolling because all the
It's
social
because they
media
lost the hockey
marketers-
game.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's it.
Well, they're
That's it,
they're petty.
100%.
They're petty little children, so it makes sense that they would get Google to troll us.
They got mad that we booed their anthem. They took it so offensive. They're like, oh, "How dare you boo at us?"
Yeah, and you
can
can
just-
submit an
Hockey
edit
game,
to
you're just
Google.
booing the other team. You happen to be in Montreal,
You
Canada.
can just see Elon and Trump in the office like, oh, I know what we're going to do. We're going to change the name of their state parks. And they're just children.
For real.
They can't even.
Sorry,
say-
Panda, I don't know if you're ready to speak. I just muted you because I heard you walk in and I didn't know if you were responsive, but you can unmute yourself whenever you want to chat.
Yeah, no, I'm good to talk. I'm just out for a walk. I'm walking home from class, funnily enough.
Nice.
Run faster.
But yeah, I'm a third generation Ukrainian Canadian. The stuff that's currently happening with Ukraine is no bueno, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. Do you still have family there?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
I like most of my family came over shortly before the Holodomor or during the Holodomor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm Eastern European, born and raised, and I'm actually from Romania, and I'm from the part of Romania that borders Ukraine called Bukovina. So I grew up with a lot of Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian food. A lot of people traveled across that border constantly. So
yeah,
I look at Ukraine as my brothers and sisters, and I'm very deeply involved in their politics personally. It matters so much to me, and yeah, I mean, we would have been in the same boat right now if we didn't get NATO membership in 2008.
agreed. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh, the Petty Queens is from Bucharest. You speak Romanian?
Oh wow.
Do you speak Romanian
A
still?
little bit. A little bit. It's like hyper specific religious Ukrainian though. I'm looking into
nice.
doing some lessons to just like brush up on like casual Ukrainian.
Do I have a bunch of Romanians in the chat right now? I just see a bunch of, because somebody just said that one of them said from
Ellie is
Bucharest, and then
Ukrainian.
Biggerfoot said Buna, which means hello. Da, dar nu prea. How long have you, when did you come to Canada?
My
How old?
Well,
You
I
are you
guess.
Panda, and then also I'm asking the chat too, the Petty Queens. I want to know when she came to Canada. I know you've been here because you said you're third generation, so.
yeah. My great grandparents came over. My grandparents were first gen. My father is a second gen, and then there's me.
Nice. Yeah, so the petty queen said that she moved here when she was 8. Okay. And I don't know how old you are right now, but I'm guessing that your Romanian is probably not what it used to be. Even I struggle sometimes because I speak English all the time, but I try to practice
Yeah.
with my Romanian friends and with my Romanian relatives.
Yeah, I'm trying to like involve Ukrainian words into my English just to keep up the practice. But yeah.
Always good, always good. I don't know if I know what castle you're talking about there, Petty Queens.
What does
Panda,
that
go
say?
for it,
What does
sorry.
that say? Can you read that? Is that
I
Ukraine?
cannot. I'm Ukrainian. Like I said, I know hyper specific Ukrainian, but not enough Ukrainian.
Yeah, and Romanians have a different alphabet, so I wouldn't be able to read it
Exactly.
either. Biggerfoot. Biggerfoot said my grandma settled in Canada in the 70s. That's crazy. How was she
Wow.
able to get out of Romania? Like, it was so
That's
hard to move back then.
crazy.
Most Romanians came
How about
here
that? Canadian got
in
one?
the late 90s after we were, freed of dictatorship, but
Yeah.
that's crazy. And good for your grandma.
Yeah, way to go.
Yeah, way to go indeed. I know people escaped, but it was hard to escape back then. And if you got caught, you could get in so much trouble. So, like, people that came here from Romania earlier than the, early and late 90s, they took a giant risk.
They really did. One of my great great uncles was a boy. He,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, one of my great great uncles was shot by Soviet soldiers during the Holodomor. So there's that. Whoop. Almost stepped
Man,
on some
I'm
ice
so
there.
sorry what's going on right there. What's going on right now? I mean, it's rough for a lot of Eastern Europe. It's what's going on in my country right now is rough too. We're super close to putting a
Yeah.
Putin puppet in charge, and it's completely divided my country. My country's a wreck right now, because if he gets in the upcoming elections, if he fights his way through the electoral committee and gets back into the running, then we're doomed because he's going to pull us out of
Yeah.
NATO, and then we're going to be another country ready for Russia's chopping block.
Yeah, and we don't want that because they're not going to stop at Ukraine. We all know this.
I know. That's what people don't understand. That they want to keep going. So that's why it's so important that Europe stands united right now more than anything.
Agreed.
Top Uber said, "Is your people will attack Ukraine from the other side?" No, because Romanians would never do that. Romanians care deeply about Ukrainians, and we basically have like the shittiest military in all of Europe. I'm going to be brutally honest about that. Our military is not strong. They are super weak, so it wouldn't be like we wouldn't just automatically do whatever like Russia wants us to do, but they could use Moldova to go in through Moldova into Romania and then into Ukraine, but that would still be Russia doing that. It wouldn't be the Romanian military.
Yeah. Ukraine
So-
standing 3 years later is honestly incredible to see. Makes me super happy, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're tough. They're very tough peoples. They're way tougher than Romanians. I'll give them that. They are. Romanians are unfortunately sometimes a little bit too easily swayed.
Agreed.
And what happened too in Romania is maybe some of the people here that are in the chat that are Romanian can vouch for, is what happened when we were finally free of dictatorship is that the intellectuals of our country left in massive numbers to move out west, either out west in Europe or coming to the United States or Canada. Because they were all looking to get out of there and especially get away from Putin coming into power because we've had so much history with Russian aggression, that
Yeah.
a lot of people saw him rise to power and went, "We got to get out of here." So everybody that had university degrees, they went to the countries that were looking for immigrants and looking for jobs, and they left in the masses. So.
Yeah, exactly. One of my one of the grandfathers to my great grandparents was actually a horse trader, so he came here, and that's basically how my paternal grandfather's family got started here. So just by coming over
Yeah.
and trading horses.
Yeah, for sure. It's we have some pretty heavy history in Eastern Europe. Let's just say that.
Because
And we
we
have
all
not
had
been, we have
big
not been
bully
treated.
Russia in our backyards.
Yeah, and we also didn't get treated that well by the rest of Europe until quite
Nope.
recently, right? I mean, most of Europe
Exactly.
looked at Eastern Europeans, right, the Slavs, as the subhumans of Europe. And like if you go back hundreds of years, we really were not looked at as
As
equal
people.
to Western Europeans.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot in the way of, I guess, progressivism in how others view Eastern Europeans like you and I.
Yeah, and especially with Romania because we have so many Roma people that live there. I
Mm-hmm.
like to call them Roma people because that's who they are, but everybody else in Europe called them gypsies.
Yep. I
And
prefer
so
using Roma as well.
yeah, and so a lot of the times as a Romanian, when you go travel outside of Romania, one of the first things that people will ask you is, are you a gypsy? And they look down upon it and they're very racist towards it. And people in Romania themselves are also racist towards Roma people. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really nasty. It's nasty, and I absolutely despise that sentiment. And I knew that
Agreed.
there was something wrong with that from the time that I was very little. But like my parents used to be that way. You know, my parents didn't realize that they were racist towards Roma people
Mm-hmm.
until years after we came to Canada and I started really getting, bothering them about it and being like, now that I'm an older person and I'm able to do my own research, like I realized that everything you guys told me about these people when I was little was wrong. And I knew it
Mm-hmm.
was wrong when I was little, but that's what you fed me. So,
Exactly.
yeah. Well, it's
Well,
time for us to close down our live tonight, but I wanted to thank everybody for being here and I want you guys to have a chance to say, your end piece for what you want people that are still here listening to hear and just your closing comments for the night.
my thoughts are just keep fighting. It's gonna get dark these next few years, and we don't know when the light's coming back. Keep fighting. Keep that light alive.
I agree. Jana? I don't know if Jana's still there.
I'm still here. I
Oh,
just
there we go.
in a conversation. How's it going?
No worries. We're just doing our little closing statements. Is that your cat?
Yes.
It's not mine. It's
It's
I was gonna say it's Panda's.
yeah, it's my cat.
It's so cute.
My son Ichiru.
That's so cute.
Well, I guess closing. Vote if you're in Ontario. Vote, 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 vote. It's tomorrow or no Thursday, right? Is the day that Ontarians
Thursday.
vote.
Yep.
So please vote. Your vote does make a difference. It does count. It's super important. It doesn't take that long. It is worth it. So please vote. Other than that, go Carney. He did a good job. They all did a great. Like I said, I was super impressed with just the civility of the entire thing. Like they got their points across without being nasty. And I've seen so much nastiness lately, like from Trump and from PP and from, the
It's
right. It's nice to see.
refreshing
It
to
is.
see politeness on the political sphere.
Yeah, it shouldn't
Yeah.
be. It should be normal, but it's not right now. It was outside of the normal now. It was very Canadian, and it's nice to see that right now. Like they were even covering each other's backs when there was a mistake. You know what I mean? Said or some
Yeah.
misunderstanding. Like they were awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it because I was doing the live, so I couldn't watch it. So I'm gonna go watch all the recaps of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially
and I
because
just got
Treaty
home
said
from
that
class,
Carney.
so-
Yeah, she said that Carney brought me to tears with his closing. Historic, I felt. I'm excited to watch
I didn't
that.
see the closing because I came over here, so I
Oh,
wanted
thank
to-
you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch it later.
We were more important than the
Yep.
closing, I guess. So. All right, well, I am going to
All
close
right.
off by saying first to my Romanian here in the chat, sper că și tu o să ai o noapte bună. And then I am going to end off by saying we are going to be doing a 24-hour live coverage of the Ontario election starting on Wednesday, going all the way to Thursday. We are going to be live for 24 hours straight. I know that's crazy, but we're taking turns. The entire Beaver team is going to be here taking turns. And we are going to end off on Thursday night. We're going to have a live stream of the actual votes as they're being counted and coming in. So, tune in for that. Make sure that you get ready to vote and you go vote in the Ontario election. And then I just want to read you guys off what our shows are for the rest of the week, because we do have shows all week. And they are Monday night, Indigenous Matters with Treaty Birder. Obviously, we're going to talk about how politics affects Indigenous communities and how Indigenous people can affect the political structure and culture. Tuesday, this is it. Wednesday, the Mossy side with the Progressive Moose. He does like deep dives on different weekly topics, so very interesting, great show. Thursday, we have the Navigation Station, which is hosted by the Missus. That's the earlier daytime show. And then Truth Through Discourse is the nighttime show, which is just weekly discussions with a full panel on relevant news topics and social issues. But this Thursday, it's going to be all about the Ontario election, and we're going to have the full team of Beavers there just talking election stuff. Friday, again, 2 shows, Canadian History with the Purple Crayon, hosted by Pixie Lee, which is Canadian history prior to Canada with a focus on BIPOC perspectives. Then we have Polititalk, hosted by Nerdy, which is like a 6-hour-long open panel debate. So Friday night, if you've got nothing else better to do, come and join us, because that's always a great live. Saturday, we have Breaking the Dam with Jana over here at the bottom, and it's discussions in a safe space focusing on ongoing mental health in tough times, learning new coping skills, and increasing mental health awareness and fighting stigmas. And then in the evening, we have Radicalized with Radical, and this is where we talk about all kinds of political topics, but with a focus on how religion is impacting the political atmosphere. And then Sunday, we have A Damn Happy Life with Happy, and this is a show that's looking for deeper perspectives on people and how they define happiness and how they explore the moments of growth throughout their lives. So that's it. I wanted to thank you all for still being here. Thank you for helping us reach our goals. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for tapping and clapping. I know tonight there was the leadership debate going on. So for those of you that did make it here, thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing us versus the way more amazing liberal leader debate. All right, guys, y'all have a good night, and I'll see you next time.